Thanks, Nicole. Okay. So we are looking at the Kintone platform. The first thing that you really notice is the dashboard, the announcement board. And we use this as a dashboard for charts and graphs, reports of any kind. And our reporting capabilities are live. So as I hover over these bars, you can see that I'm being taken to the specific records mentioned in that particular bar, in that section of the graph. If I go back home, I have the full report in front of me. So if I want to see the timesheet and test project timesheet started, it looks like there's 2 of them, and here I have the 2 test projects. Diving into a record, this is the record detail view. And this is what you typically see when you add or edit the record. This is our timesheet application, and I just put in a test project. I put myself as the employee and the approver, and I'm going to add a new record by clicking on the plus sign right now. This is a lookup field. A lookup field is pulling information from one application into another. So you don't have to recreate the wheel and retype information that you've already input into the database. So what I've done is pulled in the test project name from my projects application. And I'll show you that momentarily. I just want to show you a few more things in this timesheet application. So I'm going to say that Lisa is the employee and I, Jana, am the approver. And she worked yesterday, and I'm going to add another line to my table here, and today. Kintone orientation is the summary of work accomplished. That's going to come in handy later, and I'll show you exactly where to look for it. I'm going to save my record. And you'll notice I have some buttons in the upper left-hand corner. Not only can you create database applications with Kintone, but you can create and execute a process around these applications. In this case, we're submitting a timesheet. So I'm an admin on the account, so I can actually change the assignee, but not everyone will have that option. I'm going to submit this timesheet, and I can see that Jana, I am the approver, and I will be responsible for moving this task along. Now, because it's in my task list, I can approve this timesheet or return it for revision. But what I want to show you is if I go back home, there's actually a section that I can pay attention to when I walk in the morning called Assigned to Me. And this lights up with a number to signify how many tasks you have associated with this application that you're responsible for. So you know what you need to do when you walk in the morning. So if I click on timesheets, I'll be taken to 4 records. And I just did the test project with the Kintone orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into that record by clicking the record icon. And I'm going to go ahead and confirm that this timesheet has now been approved. I can make a comment and mention Lisa. No problem, timesheet approved. And as soon as I post this comment, Lisa's going to be notified in one of 3 different ways. This bell next to the home button in the upper left-hand corner is going to light up with a number to signify that there's a message waiting for her. If she's downloaded our mobile application, which is native in Android and iOS, she can get a push notification on the cell phone or tablet. And she can also get an email from Kintone. It really depends how you want to interact with the platform and how you want the platform to interact with you. If I want to make a change, and maybe add another day, let's say tomorrow, and save it, I can see an audit history under the comments section of exactly what's been done, who made the change, what time the change was made, and what the change was. And if I can't see it, if it's a very large application with a lot of fields, I can just show the updated details and it'll highlight the section that's been changed. You know what? That's a mistake. I don't want to add anything to this timesheet. I've already approved it. I'm going to go ahead and restore to the previous version. So you can always make sure that the latest version is the most up-to-date and see exactly what you need to see. Going back to the home page, we have spaces. Spaces are just a great way to segregate your data. You could do this by project, you could do this by department, it's completely up to you. And in these spaces, we have threads. Threads are just running conversations that you can have attachments, other charts and graphs, any kind of report. And you see that I have another announcement board in my space. Right now I'm in the sales space. Now I'm going to go into my projects application. First, I was in my timesheet application where I associated with my test project via a lookup field. And now I have the 14 hours that Lisa worked on the Kintone orientation in a related record. So all of these records, I can actually dive into them and it'll open in a new tab right back to my timesheet application. What I'm doing is viewing all of the timesheets that have been submitted for this test project. So I can see all of the hours and who has worked those hours from my project application. That's a related record. So we have the lookup field, which auto-populates from one application into another, and related records, which allows you to see records in one application into the primary application that you're working in. Now I'm going to go into my survey results. Actually, before I do that, let me just show you how to build an app. In the apps section, we have a plus sign. Just go ahead and click the plus sign, and that's how you start to create an app. You're taken to our marketplace, which is a free library of pre-built applications that you can further customize based on your specific requirements. These are just here to help you get started. You can create an app from scratch, which is using our drag and drop utility, which I'll show you in just a little bit. You can create from an Excel or CSV, or from a template or an existing application if you want to move something from one space to another, for example. To create from an Excel or CSV, it's really easy and straightforward, and one of our more popular features. I'm just going to choose the file that I wish to convert into a live application, and I can see how it looks in the Kintone platform. Down in section 3, I have the option to determine what field type best represents my data. So for the category, a radio button sounds great. The name, definitely a text field. That's going to be different for every record. The role could be a drop-down, could be a text. I'll leave it as a text. The industry, definitely a drop-down. Company size, drop-down. Team size. I think I like the way this looks. I'm going to go ahead and convert. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to rename this because I already have a survey results app. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this just to show you how quickly the data converts into a live application. There's my survey results, 1, 2, 3. And here's all my data. If I go to the gear wheel, I'm taken to the form editor, which is our drag and drop utility. Now, one thing I want to mention about a CSV or an Excel conversion is it imports in this linear fashion, but that doesn't mean you have to leave the fields that way. You can move them around with the drag and drop utility anywhere you'd like to see them on the form, so it's more aesthetically pleasing. And you'll notice that each field has its own settings. So these are my options. I can easily add or remove as I choose. And there's about 23 fields here on the left that I can just drag and drop anywhere on the form and adjust the settings as appropriate. I'm actually going to go ahead and discard these changes because I've already set up some process management, as I mentioned earlier, on a separate application. Going back into my sales space, here's the survey results application I was talking about. I'm going to go back into my app settings. And this time, I'm going to go to the app settings page. And process management is under general settings on the left. Now, these are all sample applications and sample workflows. You can, of course, as Nicole said, make any application that your heart desires. You just need to start with an idea and a process that you need to manage. In this case, we're managing a sales lead application. So the first thing I want to do is enable my process management by checking that box. In section 2, I want to list out all the different statuses that this process can be in at any point in time. From not started, we break it out by enterprise or SMB sales assignment, proposal and engineering review, closed won, closed loss, and finance. Down in section 3, I assign these tasks to specific people or groups of people and determine who's responsible for moving this process along and what are the actions that they need to take in order to do so. The first thing I've done is branched out the criteria by company size. And I can do this around any field in my application. But again, since we do it by SMB and enterprise, company size is the way to go. For the enterprise sales assignment, I'm going to do anything from 2,500 to just under 10,000. Oh, or 10,000 or more, excuse me. For the SMB assignment, I just added a line and I have all of the smaller companies of smaller size. And it's very logical from left to right, from left to right. So from enterprise sales assignment, I go back to the left and I, Jana, am assigned the enterprise sales assignment. From here, I don't need to branch out the criteria anymore because it's already been determined that this is an enterprise company. So my next step is to go straight to proposal and engineering review. Same goes for the SMB sales assignment. It's just underneath the enterprise sales assignment. So again, very logical from left to right, also moving to the proposal and engineering review. Since we both have the proposal and engineering review, we only need to list that status once. So I'm responsible for the enterprise, Lisa is responsible for the SMB, and Bob is our sales engineer who's responsible for making sure the proposal and the engineering review is up to snuff. From here, we can determine if the proposal has been won or lost. If it's won, that's fantastic. Closed won. It needs to go to Nancy in finance. And that goes to finance where we receive payment. If the deal has been lost, it ends here and the process is over. Going back up, I just want to show you what this looks like from the end user perspective yet again. This is the assigned to me, as I mentioned earlier, in the upper right-hand corner of the dashboard, you have the assigned to me section, but there are views. You can have as many views as you like to determine the column headers or the fields that you want to see when you log in. and finance might have different fields of data. So if you have a large application with a lot of different fields, it makes sense to create a view specific to you so you see what you need to see first and foremost without having to scroll across the page. I'm just going to go back to all fields, and I'm going to choose any record. This automatically knows to assign an enterprise rep because this company size is 2,500 to 4,999. So I'm going to be the next assignee, and if I confirm that, I can go ahead and create my proposal and assign it to Bob. Now I'm done. Again, I'm an admin on the platform, so I can change the assignee if I need to, but I don't need to do that just yet. What I'd like to do now is show you some other settings from the app settings page. There's 3 types of notifications that you can create around any application. General notifications are if you want to be notified if a record has been added or edited, a comment has been posted, the status has changed, etc. The next 2 are action-based and time-based. Per record notifications are action-based. So I can, again, go to any field in the application, and I think a status field sounds great. If a record has been designated closed 1, I want to be notified. So I'll put myself in here. And what do I want that notification to say goes in the summary. We won the deal. Great news, everybody. The last type of notification are date and time-based reminder notifications. So any date and time field you have in the application, in this case, there's the default updated and created date time. Or if you have a date time field in the application to specify any measure of time, you can, let's say, for example, you have a software license renewal application. So you can manage all the software licenses across your organization. You can set this 30 days before the expiration date and who should be notified and what should that notification say to remind you to renew that software license for your company. Of course, you can do them after as well. Permissions. Permissions are very granular. Giving someone permission to manage the app is actually giving them the keys to the kingdom and giving them access to this page right here. And you'll notice on this app settings page, you have the capability to delete this app. So you want to be very careful about who you give rights and permissions to manage the application. Records. You can target any record in the application and say, everyone can view but not edit. And it's very granular. It even goes down to the field level. So if you had financial information that not everyone should see, or salary information that no one should see except for HR or finance, you can target that specific field and then determine whether Jana is allowed to view or edit or not. And it's hierarchical, so what's on top goes first. Graphs and charts. This is where you can create the graphs. Anything that you can create in Excel, you can create in Kintone. And as I mentioned, all of our reports are live. You just select the type of chart you'd like to build, and there's 3 levels that you can group by. The category, I'm going to add the status, and I'm going to add one more, maybe team size. So here's my chart. And I don't need to filter or sort by anything, but I do have that option should I so desire. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to update my app. Views, this is where you create the views. Again, with our drag and drop utility, you just drag the fields you want to see onto the form on the right. And let me just show you that very quickly. Again, you always want to click the plus sign to create a new one. And you just drag the fields you want to see in the order you want to see them in. And name your view, and we have calendar views as well. If you're working on specific projects for project management and you have due dates, you can always see these due dates on the calendar as well. And now I'm going to update my app. So end users have the capability to create charts and graphs as well. They can do so right over here. Just to create a chart or graph, click on that bar. That looks like a graph. You can filter and sort, and here's where your graphs live, right next to your views, all of the views that I've created, and I'm going to go back to all fields. So we're running out of time, but this was just a quick example of some of the different types of applications that you can build, creating and executing a process around these applications, setting notifications, permission controls, and how to build an app in the first place. And of course, collaboration is inherent throughout the platform. If I want to talk to Lisa and have a private message, I can also send her a private message, or I can post to her wall as well. So that does it for me. I'm more than happy to go into extensive detail with anyone and any use case. But for now, let's take a pause and answer some questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jana. So we're going to start our Q&A session. I'll just give everyone a few moments here to formulate your question, and then we'll start diving in. All right, for our first question, are there permission groups?
There are permission groups. If I go into users and system administration, you can have groups or roles, departments and users, and department access control. So if you don't want someone to see a different department, you can eliminate them from view as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Jana. Next question here. Can workflows be pre-configured and assignees be pre-configured? This question I'm not 100% on. I might have one solution, but Jana, if you'd like to try to tackle that one.
Sure, you can definitely assign the workflows to the appropriate people before you grant access to those people to the application. So if that's what you're trying to do, a sandbox environment where you just want to test out the workflows, that can definitely be done.
Great. Fantastic. All right, next question here. So if they know how to upload a spreadsheet and turn that to an app, but they need more customization, are there developers at Kintone who can provide that support?
Absolutely. We have a team of system consultants who can really sit with you to understand your business processes and build out an application and an automated workflow to best enhance your desired workflow and make it more efficient.
Fantastic. See, another question.
Yeah, and they know best practices. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one's a fun one and speaks to one of our finer features and capabilities. So the question is, besides pulling data from Excel spreadsheet, can it also be pulled from existing databases, websites, etc.?
You actually can set that up. It's not a function designed straight out of the box, but it certainly can be done with open APIs. if I go into my application and go to my settings, one thing I didn't really talk about is JavaScript, APIs, and webhooks. So there is further customization available.
Yes, absolutely. So through our APIs, in addition to plugins, we have some native plugins ranging from SurveyMonkey to Box, and then also this service called Zapier, which is fantastic to connect with Kintone and Microsoft Flow, which is actually coming later this fall. You're able to connect to Evernote, to Gmail, to Office, Outlook, Office 365, and lots of other databases and services. So it's definitely something that Kintone can do, and we're more than happy to provide more detail with you about it with you. And let's see here. Another question: where does the information live, and how do we know it's secure?
The data is very secure. It's actually encrypted in flight and at rest, and it's in our data centers. I think we have about 8 data centers globally,
Yes.
And we can go into a lot of depth on the security protocols. Let's take that one offline.
Yep,
there's
absolutely.
a lot of info there.
Yep, but just to highlight data at rest and data in transit encryption, in addition to two-factor authentication and lots of other features that we can absolutely provide you with more detail on. So excellent questions. We're going to wrap up here now with some next steps. So as Jana mentioned, any other questions that you have, please reach out to her. Her email is on the screen there. And then a natural next step would be, if you haven't already, to sign up for a free 30-day trial, and you can visit by going to that URL. And then lastly, if you'd like to take a closer look at what we reviewed today, we will be sending you a recording of this webinar, so you are able to look through that, and then any other questions that pop up, you know where to find us. We'll also send you a survey just to make sure that we can serve you better. So thank you all very much for attending today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Take care.
Bye-bye.